On this episode of We're No Damn Experts, we talk about the pretty park in Montana, which is Glacier National Park. Stay tuned to find out how to enjoy it as a day trip and what we recommend for reservations, gear, and when to go.
Best damn podcast, the best damn town. You want to get up, get ready to get down. With its big wide sky and wild river Thames, if you want to go, we can take you there to Great Falls, Montana.
Welcome to the greatest damn town in Montana, Great Falls. I'm Rebecca Engum.
And I'm Marisela Hazzard.
And today, we're going to be talking about Glacier National Park.
The pretty park.
The happy park.
The amazing park that you're going to venture to just in one day from Great Falls, Montana.
Now, truth be told, people should plan more than a day trip out of Great Falls to Glacier. But since our job is to make sure people stay in Great Falls overnight, we're only going to cover areas where it would make a day trip.
Yeah.
Make it really nice, and then you can come back to the base camp and then plan another trip at some other time.
Yeah, and this podcast is pretty much for leisure travelers, but just an FYI, we do have meetings and conventions that are held in Great Falls too, so Glacier National Park is a way for them to extend their stay. So if they don't have the time frame to spend a month in the park, is because that's what they did in 1911.
And you really do need to spend at least a month.
Yeah, so we're going to let you know how to go there for one day. And if you do want to stay longer, you can. But we want you to come back to Great Falls because we have amazing hiking too.
And we have a great connection with some of our local artists at Glacier National Park that we'll get into in another episode because it's a really awesome story about batik art. And I think I'm saying that right. But again, I'm no damn expert.
No damn expert. We forgot that in the intro.
Oh.
You could say your name again.
I'm Rebecca Engum.
And I'm Marisela Hazzard. And we're no damn experts. By episode 10, we'll get that, okay? It's only episode 3, technically 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're new to this.
Fairly new. And this is our first time recording our podcast because I guess 43% of Canadians search for podcasts on YouTube. So
hi, Canadians.
We miss you.
We really miss you a lot. And sorry, we didn't learn that data until recently. So now you'll see us.
Okay. We'll try and record periodically and maybe in a better studio. We might have a guest studio. Someone might reach out to, like at the Celtic Cowboy where they have the amazing seating area, natural light, just conducive for a successful podcast experience.
It really is. But we also might be moving. So yes. There's that hope.
Fingers crossed.
But then we'll have natural light and windows to contend with and probably chirping birds. You know, a whole slew of other issues.
Time will tell. So back to the pretty park. We mentioned it in episode 0 and episode 1 of Glacier National Park. And really, this is going to be a fairly short episode because we're no damn experts, but we want to make sure that you know how you can explore Glacier National Park and what you need to do so. Because like we were talking earlier, Great Falls is pretty relaxed.
It is. I mean, we've often gotten guests in. They're like, how far in advance do we need to book a room? Or will we even be able to find a room here tonight? And usually the answer is, yeah, you're good. There are a few times when we're working on some bigger projects where, yeah, it might be a little touch or go, but Great Falls is fairly laid back, easy going. But Glacier requires a little bit more planning.
Yeah.
And the reason that's so important is we've also had guests who've shown up. We got in the car this morning in Colorado and decided to go to Glacier. Super. Is there a lot of mountains? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
we're going to like that. I'm like, yeah, going to the Sun Highway has one really steep cliff off the one side.
Yes. If you don't know what going to the Sun Road looks like, you might have seen it in the opening credits of The Shining. Even though that was filmed, or the setting of The Shining is in Colorado, the opening credits is going to the Sun Road.
Well, that's an interesting fact that I knew nothing about.
Well, I've seen The Shining at a very young age, so it haunts me to this day.
Well, we just celebrated Halloween, and I was really looking for some good spooky shows to watch. I could have watched that.
The Shining, yes. Never fails you. So Glacier National Park is actually the first international peace park.
It is. It's got some great history on that. Glacier National Park borders the Canadian border. And in Alberta is the Waterton National Park. And in 1932, Rotary Club members in both Montana and Alberta convinced the U.S. and Canada government to join Waterton Lakes and Glacier National Park as a symbol of their longtime friendship. So fittingly, we've got YouTube coming on for our Canadian partners, friends, and we're talking about Glacier, part of the International Peace Park that is really solidifying our friendship with Alberta. Myself personally, I grew up on the border of Canada, and so I didn't know it was another country. I just had a lot of friends that lived across an area where you had to go through a little border station. This is just an interesting fact, but the historic agreement was the first of its kind. Mm-hmm. And it has the world's first international transboundary park designation as well.
Oh, so the efforts were started in 1932, but if I believe it was solidified in 1935. And that's where people then could venture into the center of the park and get their passport stamped with the mountain goat, because that is the symbol of Glacier National Park, is the mountain goat.
Yeah.
It's a little fun fact.
We'll have fun facts throughout the podcast. Get prepared. So also want to preface this for our viewers, if people are watching versus just listening. We have notes.
Yes.
We are no damn experts on Glacier National Park, so this will be one of the very, let's say, many future episodes we'll actually do research on.
Yeah.
So we've got notes.
When we did Where Are the Falls, we had some show notes like, this is what we make sure to talk on, because otherwise we're going to forget it. But we didn't do any research. It was just our basic knowledge and everything that we share with our in-market guests that come and ask for help. So this time we do have some show notes, and that's how I'm able to reference 1932 compared to 35. But they do function seamlessly. And so when you are in Glacier National Park, you may be a little confused. I have had some friends that went there, and then all of a sudden they see Canadian signs. And they're like, wait, what just happened?
You might have gone into Canada.
Welcome. So another interesting fact about Glacier National Park is just simply where it's located on the map and for the Continental Divide. So this is why we tell people that you need to plan a little bit more for Glacier National Park, because the Continental Divide causes drastic weather changes. We don't mean like a month is different than another month. We're meaning within hours. So especially during the summer, which is the most busy time for visitors to go to Glacier National Park, you can have it 75 degrees, perfectly sunny, and then have an afternoon thunderstorm, which is fairly often that this happens, and get a few inches dropped on you. So you're going to be soaked to the bone. So this is why we say dress in layers and know your limits and be prepared, because hypothermia actually is more frequent in the summer months than in winter months, because once your core drops below 95 degrees, and it's less than 55 degrees outside, you're subjective to hypothermia. So dress in layers.
So if you recall from, was it episode 0, we mentioned Maudie has the random weather facts. As a meteorologist, she comes up with that. But it is important to be safe, not only from that standpoint, but nature isn't something you really want to mess around with, because also there are bears. And so beyond bringing the proper gear, don't go alone into the wilderness.
No.
Not really a good option. You want to make sure you have a kit and supplies packed for you. You may think you're just going for a day trip, but make sure you've got the things to start fires and things to stay warm at night in case you end up spending the night unexpectedly.
And when Rebecca mentioned bears, the Lewis and Clark expedition that went through the Louisiana Purchase, they ventured about 50 miles south of what is now park land. And since that time frame in the 1800s, the species that are in Glacier National Park have hardly changed. So that wildlife that was prevalent in the 1800s, that has diminished in other urban areas, is still prevalent in Glacier National Park. So that's the severity. You are walking into untouched wilderness that is breathtaking and beautiful, but please don't forget that a bear may be behind you.
Don't feed them. No. And keep more than your social distance away from them.
A little bit.
Especially if you see little bears.
Yes.
Little bears are even scarier than big bears.
Because the mama bear is looking for them.
Yeah. Beyond bears, there are 71 mammal species in Glacier National Park. There are 276 species of birds in Glacier National Park. 24 fish species.
And 2 of them weren't native, if I remember correctly. I think there's some that are
quite a bit more than 2, but I don't remember.
We'll have that in the show notes.
And it's also in this book, the O Ranger Glacier National Park book. Tells you a little bit about what native species are there or not. We're new to podcasting, so sorry for all the sounds that aren't originally just our voice. And then one other last final fun fact about the species, because a lot of people like the flora and fauna details of the area. Over 1,100 vascular plant species.
Wow. And when you see pictures of Glacier, that's what you're going to see when you go there. If you visit them during the mid-June to mid-October timeframe, which is when the Going to the Sun Road is open. So the Going to the Sun Road is the jewel of the crown of the continent.
Oh, brilliant.
Beautifully said.
Brilliant.
It's 53 miles. You can stay in your car and there are stops along the way and you're winding through the mountains. And as Rebecca stated earlier, there's a cliff.
It's very steep.
Very steep. So when you are driving there during the summer, you are going to see these beautiful plants, breathtaking scenes, and if you don't want to drive that, there are tour buses.
Yeah, you can take the red buses. These are original, restored 1930s Ford model jammers.
Yeah.
And they'll do a bus tour through the park, go through Glacier, or Going to the Sun Road. And it's probably the premier way to see it, other than the fact that you'd be with a bunch of people you may not know, but you don't have to drive.
No.
And the tops roll back, so you get the full view from the top of the jammer. And remember when we said you needed to plan not just for outdoors, but there's a lot of people that go to Glacier National Park. In September, just this year with COVID, we had 343,911 visitors.
In 1 month, people.
In 1 month. And if you compare that to the same September in 2019, it was 488,909 visitors.
So a decline, but not that much with all the restrictions.
Granted, yes. And then in August, so a little bit more of the height of the season, we had 459,121 visitors. And last August in 2019, 771,874 visitors. So 41% decline. Now, I could go through and tell you every month, year by year, but that's probably not very interesting. You can look up the stats on your own. But I will tell you, when the park was founded, 1911, the first year it was open, 4,000 visitors to the national park. And this is a testament to how well marketing works.
Yes.
2019, over 3 million visitors to the park. It is open year round, but the snowfall will close going to the Sun Road, and some other features like horseback riding and
lodging
boat tours.
There's one lodging facility that is open 1 year round, but the rest of them, they are only open during the summer months, not only because of the tourist season, just because sheer snowfall. They get about 138 inches a year. And that's depending on elevation. Yeah. So, because the highest point in Glacier is over 10,000 feet. And if you want to go into the climatological reasoning of why snow accumulates at higher altitudes, we can do that in a different episode. But
that'll be riveting.
But there's a ton of snow. And then just also with that higher elevations, as another safety thing, because the former meteorologist, my main priority was getting people safe, is with these higher elevations during the summer months, you're more likely to have hail and larger hail too, because the most favorable conditions for hail is at 8,000 feet above sea level. And so with Glacier National Park being a higher elevation, you're going to see some real thunderstorms there.
And it has some extremes. The lowest elevation at Glacier National Park is at 3,150 feet.
So a little bit lower than Great Falls.
Yep. And then the highest elevation is at 10,479 feet, which is at the summit of Mount Cleveland.
Okay, so that's Gable Pass. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll get there.
On the website. If you haven't noticed yet, we do have a website. It's www.visitgreatfallsmontana.org/podcast. And that's where you can find We're No Damn Experts, all the listing of our episodes, show details, where I correct myself, where I explain Rebecca, and where you can submit your own corrections as well. So if we misspoke on any of this, come at me and let me know your sources, and we'll fix the episode.
Because we named this aptly. We are no damn experts, and we really want this to be engaging. And it's a little bit harder to engage on a podcast because we record and then post. But the website is a perfect place for you to be able to engage, to subscribe, to follow along on our social channels. All that fun stuff can be done there.
Yeah, and when you do submit a correction, I just want to let you know it's going to be fielded to probably the most responsible staff member, me. So you're going to email me directly and I'll respond to you. We got a lean, mean team here. So is Rebecca, me, or Zach, and he's in his office.
He knows what's happening. He can hear a little bit of this, but he's really busy working on getting some conventions and meetings here right now.
Yeah, in a safe way. So going back to Glacier.
Yeah, so Glacier National Park, what are the things you do there besides going to the Sun Road is hiking. It's a really prominent area to go hiking, see wildlife. That's kind of the feature of the park. There are 730 total miles of hiking trails in Glacier National Park.
So some of these are shorter hikes, so you don't have to do all 700 at once. You can do some shorter hikes, and then there are some day-long hikes if you do want to venture out and camp in, camp out, have that kind of experience. And if you do, I'd love to see your photos, because while Glacier is beautiful, the people that do go a little bit further end up seeing the pristine water. But if you're not up to that, Lake McDonald still offers the most stunning views, clear water, and it has those rocks.
Yeah, if you've seen pictures of Lake McDonald, it is usually because of those pretty rocks, the clearness of that water, and it's one of the most scenic lakes in the park, also the longest and the deepest.
10 miles. Deep. No, I'm joking. 10 miles wide, long.
10 miles long, 464 feet deep.
Oh my goodness.
And again, those pretty rocks are usually what you see in that place. The other thing that you can, the hikes that we were talking about, we're going to cover some on the east side. If you go to Glacier National Park, the closest access point is flying into Glacier International Airport. However, the most rugged, natural, authentic beauty of Glacier National Park is on the east side. So the best way to get to the east side is to fly into Great Falls or drive up on our interstates or come over from Highway 200, a lot of options. But head north from Great Falls, and then you can get access to East Glacier. You can get access to St. Mary, Mini Glacier. There's even a border crossing that you can get into to get to the Port Lake Charles Chateau up in Waterton National Park. But some of the hikes are really tough. Some of them are really easy. Like the Swift Current Nature Trail. It's a 2.5 mile loop and it's ranked as easy. And I am a girl who loves to hike. And I don't mind the strenuous ones, but I am super up for easy ones. And this takes about 2 to 3 hours. So you're, again, going to need to plan whether you're making the day trip out of Great Falls or if you're planning to be up there for a long period of time, finding lodging and dining and that kind of stuff. But it goes around the lake with the views of Grinnell and Salamander Glacier and Mount Gould Grinnell Point. Oh, so it's a really pretty one. Grinnell Glacier Trail, on the other hand, is 5.3 miles one way, ranked as strenuous.
I haven't done it. I've done the Swift Current one. I was like, that one was gorgeous, beautiful. My 2-year-old helped me along the way. I did not do
the strenuous hike.
No, I did not.
All the work will pay off on this one with the views of Grinnell Lake and the Garden Wall and glacier ice remnants. You'll finally get to see glacier. Again, we mentioned this before. Glacier National Park is because it has glaciers and it looks like a bunch of snow. So big blocks of snow are glaciers.
And there are 26 glaciers in Glacier National Park, with the largest being 0.7 square miles. And that is Blackfoot Glacier.
You'd mentioned backpacking in, getting those opportunities, a lot of great information, a lot of different areas where you're able to do that. Just make sure that you get your backcountry pass before you do that.
Okay.
It's a national park, and so there's a fee to enter it. And let me just make the plug that those fees are necessary to make that maintenance and upkeep on all the buildings and the trail maintenance and the interpretive park rangers and all the services that are available there. It's where those fees go. So don't feel bad about paying to go in. And we get that question a lot. How much does it cost to get into Glacier? Well, I did some research because I never remember. I just show up and cover the fee. But it is $35 per vehicle in the summer between May 1st and October 31st. And then again, we mentioned you can go in the winter, $25 in the winter between November 1st and April 30th. If you're a bicyclist, feel free to enter the park for $20. And if you're on a motorcycle, the fee is $30.
And bicyclists are encouraged to go at the beginning or the end of the season so that there's less traffic and they're able to have the roads more to themselves. So if you do want to go towards the end of September, beginning of October, where the kids are going back to school, perfect time to see fall foliage in Glacier National Park. And then also on the reverse side of that, in the beginning of the season, beginning of June, end of May, when the kids are still in school and where Glacier National Park is awakening, because spring is a little bit of a secret here in Montana.
Because sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't.
You'll enjoy it there. But yes, that's when we would suggest to, just for safety measures, if you are traveling out of town and you're going to break your neck, if you're just going to keep looking on this cycle, wanting to look over the edge.
The passes that you get at the park are valid for 7 days. You can buy an annual pass for $70. A really interesting fun fact, maybe everybody knows, but military receive free passes to go to our national parks. So that's always fun. And if you're not military and you plan your trip right, There are days that are free to enter Glacier National Park.
Yes.
So plan around January 21st, April 20th, August 25th, and September 28th. And I'm sure there's some great significance to each one of those dates, but the only one I could think of was January 21st might be President's Day or Washington's birthday or something.
It's a holiday.
Martin Luther King Day, maybe.
I thought that was the 12th.
I don't know.
Okay, well, we'll have that in the show notes as well. We'll give you reasonings why these dates were picked, but I would think the August 25th one is the most visited or most used just because it's in the height of the season. I could be wrong, but...
Maybe they're just fun days somebody picked and said, we should open this up one day for free to let people experience this national park. Which could be too.
These are the founders' birthdays. That's what I'm going to go with.
The road maker. So in addition to hiking and going to the Sun Road, there's also boat cruises. You can tour all of the lakes through a boat tour. There's even one that covers the U.S.-Canada border. You were talking about that earlier. So if you want to sneak into Canada, just make sure you have your passport. It's a little bit easier that way.
And the boats that you can tour, they're historic. They're that wooden old field. They're gorgeous. Definitely Instagram worthy. But the whole park is. Who am I kidding?
Just get one feed for Glacier National Park. Just keep posting tons of stuff. But your boat cruises, again, on that east side, you can access at Two Medicine, St. Mary Lake, at the Rising Sun, and then Mini Glacier. You can also do horseback riding from Mini Glacier. There is some of those services on the west side, Apgar and Lake McDonald, but
I access Glacier from the east side, and I still went to Lake McDonald.
Yeah,
I still had a gorgeous time, and I was back in Great Falls 2.5 hours later.
Really unique feature. Another one of those not miss opportunities would be Two Medicine Valley, which can be seen from East Glacier. It has some of the most dazzling colors of rock and foliage to be seen. We even have some partners that do tours in the Two Medicine area. Badger Two Medicine area. That's what happens when you try to become an expert.
And that would be Jerry. Okay. Jerry Jennings is my dear friend, and she's a champion in Great Falls, and she definitely lets me know about all the hikes in the area, and they have their pamphlet, I'm at a loss for words, the Mountain Range chapter.
Montana Wilderness Association Island Mountain chapter.
There we go.
In addition to that area in Two Medicine, there's Running Eagle Falls.
Okay.
Which is a feature to be seen. They call it Trick Falls, and it's one fall goes over the rock cliff, and then another one comes out a hole in the wall.
2 for 1.
2 for 1s. And it's quite the sight to behold.
So you're going to be taking pictures throughout this all.
But do it safely. Please don't just take pictures and get close to the edge.
So I will tattle on myself. When I did go to Glacier for the first time, I went close to the edge, and thankfully another patron there reminded me, do not do that. And I stepped back and I thanked her because I was just overwhelmed by the beauty, and I really wasn't being safe. So
a lot of the rocky areas aren't reinforced with steel beams, so it's still part of nature. Don't climb on the rocks either.
So I wasn't one of those people that were trying to do it for the gram. I was just like, that must take picture.
The other thing, if you're going to the Sun Road, there is kind of a halfway point, Logan Pass. Really great place, really great opportunity to kind of be able to see usually mountain goats in that area. A little bit of a hiking area if you've done the drive, and it's an easy, stretch your legs type of walk there. Great little visitor center, interpretive programs there as well. But the other thing that we haven't mentioned yet is Glacier National Park is really steeped in that American Indian history. As the first people of the nation, they have a lot of sacred connection to Glacier National Park and the animals that are there. And so one of the providers up at Glacier National Park is Sun Tours, and they provide an amazing experience with featuring the Blackfeet culture and history. So you get a lot of that First Peoples information directly from the ancestors that were there. And so I think that's a really unique experience. And again, when you have to plan for it, you just can't show up and expect to sign up at the time, but make sure you plan for it. Make sure they're running. Make sure, especially during this time, if COVID continues, to really make sure you get all the things you want done when you make your trip out here and go.
Yeah, we don't want you to be disappointed. And based on the history, archaeological finds date the first peoples back to the Glacier National Park area 12,000 years ago. Like, that's the kind of historical connection that the Blackfeet, I have the other two written down.
Salish and Kootenai tribes.
Yes. So all three of those tribes have spiritual connections to the area.
So there's just nothing quite like Glacier, but it can get crowded, so plan accordingly. So I'll make a plug at this point for Bob Marshall Wilderness Complex, which is really connected to Glacier National Park. There's a road between the two. Mm-hmm. And the Bob Marshall Wilderness Complex has similar beauty and opportunity to explore amazing hiking experiences. So if the crowds are too much or you didn't get a chance to get to Glacier, consider being able to go into the Bob as kind of the second place finish for that. And it's a really great experience. And we'll tell you more about the Bob Marshall Wilderness Complex in a later episode. Again, we want to keep you interested in coming back.
We just had friends go to the Bob during October with all the snow, and they were snowshoeing. And thankfully, they shared some photos with Great Falls, Montana Tourism, and they were gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area. Fun little note. That's where my aunt took me when I graduated from high school. It was like my big graduation trip.
Oh.
We spent 7 days in the Bob, and it gets in your soul. And now I live in Great Falls, so.
Yeah, and how far is the Bob away?
45 minutes.
Hop, skip, and a jump.
Yeah.
So, like we said, Glacier National Park, it's our pretty park. There is an east side that we prefer you enter on because that's where you just fly into Great Falls, stay the night, gear up, get your bear spray because you can't take bear spray on the plane.
Correct.
Get any of the other gear that you might have forgotten. So that means the layers. We want you to have the tearaway pants that turn into shorts, Michael Scott style, tank top, a flannel, jacket, raincoat, anything that you may think will keep you dry, bring it. And you can go to like Bighorn or Shields or
one of the things I will tell you is we had a Great Falls champion write us a blog on the gear you should be packing. So feel free to check that out. He also wrote us a blog on the hidden secrets of the east side of Glacier National Park.
Thank you, Eric.
Eric, you did amazing work because he's there quite often. Very, very avid outdoorsman, and he gives you even more tips than we've given you based on the research we did on the O-Ranger Glacier National Park Guide,
which is available whenever you come on down to 101st Avenue North. We have plenty of copies to give you, maps of Glacier, and then this also gives you the numbers to call to make sure that where you want to go is open. And then I will plug Glacier National Park's Twitter. They do a really good job of updating their potential visitors on any current closures. So if there is too much traffic on the going to Sun Road, which did happen this summer and other summers as well, they'll notify where the turn points are, just so that you're more prepared.
You can also email us at podcast@visitgrapefalls.org to get any of these materials sent to you so you can plan at home. I'm a huge planner, so I always like to dig in and make sure every day has got the maximum return on investment possible. My husband loves it. He's like, oh, yippee, you're planning a trip again.
And I don't have to do a thing but enjoy it.
Right. That's exactly how it goes in our house.
So we're so glad that you listened into our third episode, technically fourth episode, Glacier, the Pretty Park. And next episode, Rebecca, do you want to do a drum roll, but don't hit the table? Oh.
Oh, that echoed. I do apologize for that one.
Our next episode is going to be
Yellowstone National Park.
the science park. So we've mentioned this like before in our other episodes. So if you're a subscriber, you're like fast forward. I already know what you're going to say. Wyoming owns it, but we claim it.
We got 5 of the entrances, and there's some crazy stuff that goes on in that park, and we're going to cover that and even do some more research for you all so that we sound like we're super smart.
Yeah, the last time I was there was when I was 8 years old.
I'm sure nothing's changed.
Nothing. Again, we want you to enjoy our podcast. So please leave a review on anywhere you leave or you listen to your podcast. And again, you can follow us on Instagram at Visit Great Falls. Also, we're on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Great Falls Montana Tourism. And we're on Twitter at Visit Great Falls. We now have 32 followers.
Oh,
up from
thank
30.
you. Thank you. That must have been these haven't aired yet, so it doesn't matter.
It was Jolene Sharper is now following us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jolene.
She's one of the owners of a Keller Geist Pub Theater, which is one of our partner businesses. So thank you, Jolene.
I thought it was the plug you made in one of the last episodes, but since we haven't aired them,
weird, yes,
that's pointless.
Joel Corda is getting us the final versions of the music for We're No Damn Experts, and he's a Great Falls resident and musician, songwriter, creative.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, we've listened to how many examples did he give us? 20?
Something like that. And they were so much fun and so amazing.
And damn, that feels good. I can't wait for you to hear it when he says it, because like we've said before, we don't have a voice for audio. Face isn't for YouTube either, but here we are.
Because we love our friends in Canada.
So thanks again for listening, watching. We hope to see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We're No Damn Experts is the recorded claims from Great Falls, Montana, covering what you need to know about this amazing damn town. Damn, that felt good.
On the next episode of We're No Damn Experts, Rebecca and Maudie tell their listeners a little bit about the science park, which is in Wyoming, but Montana claims it, and we hope the volcano never blows. That's Yellowstone National Park. We're No Damn Experts was produced by Great Falls, Montana Tourism with original music by the best damn musician, Joel Corda.